benching. In this video, I make inexpensive, large-scale art by wrapping a tapestry around a wood frame to give it a more structured appearance. The tapestry I use is Exhale by Alyssa Hamilton Art, and I purchased it on Society 6. It's a size small, and I'll link it in the description box below. While I use a tapestry, any sort of fabric will work to create a gallery wrap. Now, I am not going to call this video a tutorial. This is a video of me attempting to follow a tutorial and then realizing it wasn't going to pan out quite as I expected and having to kind of create my own path from there. So my goal is to share a very important DIY lesson I learned, which is to take inspiration from others' DIYs, but ultimately create your own project plan. So today we're building a frame. We're going to stretch the tapestry across it so it looks like a canvas that is worth a lot more money than what we spent on it. That's the goal. We've done this once before and we ran into some conflict following a tutorial online that didn't give us the correct dimension. That's my mistake. Don't blindly follow tutorials, do your own measurements, because turns out it was wrong. Our wood pieces, which we had cut from the hardware store, are actually a little bit longer than we need. So the tutorial had us kind of having the wood down like this, but because we need to have more surface area to wrap the tapestry on, we're gonna just flip our pieces vertically. This does kind of impact some decisions. For one, it will need a frame, we think, in order for it to look good on the wall, because I don't know if the tapestry is going to fully wrap this. It's going to protrude more from the wall since we're using this 1x2 and it's sitting vertically instead of laying down flat. And I think that'll be fine to kind of add some more dimension to the art. So I don't know, we're going to try it out, just figuring this out on our own, and don't follow this step by step, do your own measurements. So we have started out by making a makeshift work table by covering my coffee table in butcher paper. I don't have a workbench because I live in an apartment and the alternative is to drop a really long extension cord down into my garage, and that just takes a lot of time. So we're gonna do this for now. The first thing we're gonna do is screw the members of the frame together. So I'll start by pre-drilling a hole in the wood pieces and then screwing in this screw. They are trim head screws. So this is what you would use for like a finished carpentry. It'll sink all the way into the wood and then you could fill the top of it so there's no head protruding from the wood. This is what we did the last time when we were first trying to follow the tutorial to no avail. So the piece would be laying with the longer side directly like on the wall. So we are doing it this in orientation. This is a number 8 2-inch screw, and it would come into the 1x2 and just barely grip onto this guy. It would not be enough to hold it. So a 2-inch screw is not big enough if you want to use this orientation and 1x2 pine. You need the 2.5-inch screw. Because look, it goes in, it'll sink fully, at least 1/2 inch into the next member to really make it connect. If you had clamps, this would be a great time to use them, but I don't have clamps. So I'm gonna use Aaron here to act as my clamp, and he's gonna hold the members of wood together since I can't hold them together while drilling at the same time. When you pre-drill your holes, whether it's in wood or in the wall, you want to make sure that the bit is just a little bit skinnier than the screw you're going to use, because while pre-drilling will make it easier to put the screw in, actually it can be really hard to drive a screw in, especially in wood, without pre-drilling. You don't want the hole to be as big as the screw because then it won't grip to the hole. So just like the next size under is what you want to use when you're pre-drilling holes. I am just drilling in 2 screws in each member so that it won't like pivot on the connection point. My work setup here is very makeshift. I've since added more tools to my collection, like a second drill so that I don't have to switch back and forth between drill bit and driver bit. That is a huge time saver. But as you can see, you don't need a lot of tools for this project, and it's a great one to try if you're just starting out. The reason I was on the table to begin is because the size of the drill didn't allow enough space to drive in the bottom screw.
For the center support, to get around that problem, we just flip the frame over to drill in one hole and then over again for the other.
Okay, so before you attach your tapestry to the frame, you want to make sure that you iron it. No wrinkles. Disclaimer here. Make sure you understand your heat settings on your iron and the fabric of your canvas. So, this is a synthetic fabric, and I'm keeping that in mind. But I'm a rebel, and I don't like ironing on synthetic. I usually use linen to iron synthetic because I think it works a little better. So this is what I was talking about. Do your own measurements, because I blindly followed the measurements of someone's tutorial and they didn't work for me. Normally, I guess in the tutorial it would lay flat, but we didn't want to do that because we were having trouble getting this to wrap. It just absolutely wasn't going to wrap if the boards were laid in a different orientation. So we have them vertical now, they're laying high, and we're gonna be able to like just barely hit it, I think, on each side, stretching it. Then we're probably going to need to add a frame to it, but that's okay. To begin, stapling your canvas to the frame, you wanna lay your canvas face side down on the ground. Make sure your ground is clean, vacuum and sweep or whatever before you lay it down on the ground. And then you're going to start on one side in the middle, pull up, staple gun it in, and then move out either direction on that side, and then you'll go immediately to the other side and pull tension, starting again in like the middle and working out to the sides. So let's get started. Because this is inexpensive pine, the first thing to keep in mind is there are a lot of knots in this wood, which makes driving a staple to it kind of challenging, because if you hit a knot, it might just send the staple going the other way. There have been plenty of times in which I had to pull out a staple that I stapled in because it didn't go in right. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, because you can always just pull it out of the wood, and it's not that expensive anyway, and it'll all be okay. Just keep going. Don't stop. Because we had to change the orientation of the wood, and the fabric is not big enough or like to wrap all the way around, and the wood isn't short enough, you know, bad dimensioning. It's better if you can staple down. Right now I'm stapling into. This is not great because one, it's hard. If I had nobody on the other side, the wood would just fly away. It wouldn't even grip the staple. So if you find yourself in this predicament, I recommend either pushing the frame up against the wall or something that can push back on you, so when you drive the staple in, it won't just push the frame away. Or, like I have now, you know, my clamp guy is also my wall, and he's pushing back the frame at me so that it doesn't go away. So you'll either need some help from a friend, some clamps, or a wall that'll, you know, help you drive in. Also, be safe. Don't have your head anywhere you have the staple gun, because it could drive back and knock your face. That's not good. Also, sometimes you just need to find a solution around the house to get what you need done. So I grabbed some hair clips, and I'm using them to hold up the canvas for the time being as I staple. So here's what you do when the staple gun gets in enough and not enough. Just whack it in.
So the camera is about to cut off, but after stapling both long sides of the fabric to the frame, we repeated the process, securing both shorter sides of the fabric to the frame.
We did it! We finished stretching the tapestry over our canvas frame, and we're gonna go ahead and hang it on the wall. But we will need to add an additional frame around the outside of this, and let me show you why. Remember I said we cut or had the lumber cut too big? And so it didn't wrap all the way around the back of the canvas, which is okay because we're just gonna have to add a frame on it. However, if you don't want a frame on it, make sure that you measure correctly and allow for the canvas to wrap all the way around the thickness of the material you're using for the frame. All right, so pretty happy with how this turned out. Very inexpensive. We got this tapestry for like $30 on sale. Society 6. Always make sure that you shop when it's on sale because they have a lot of sales. And then the lumber costs 15 bucks for 2 frames, so like $7.50 for one of these. So 40 bucks for a giant piece of art.
Thanks for joining me on that journey of a DIY project. And be sure to tune in next week for part 2 when I create a frame to go around the tapestry. Thanks for watching.